Welcome to the Box True Path Show, where we dive deep into the realms of education and financial literacy. We blend insights on college education, career prospects, and the necessary financials to stay on your path. I'm your host, Dheeraj Naraharisetti, and today I am thrilled to have our co-host, Dr. Gordon Chiu. Dr. Chiu is not just an author, innovator, investor, and scientist, but also a visionary who has completed Wharton's Advanced Management Program and Harvard's Business Analytics Program. He has co-founded his startup Fingra in February of 2023, which has won that year's Global Top Technology Prize with the Harvard Business School New Venture Competition. Let's welcome Dr. Chiu.
Hi, Dheeraj. I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you so much for coming on to this podcast, Dr. Chiu. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about entrepreneurship, the job market, and really what to do with life. So the first question I have is about the job market. It's very bad right now and extremely hard to get a job in hot majors like computer science. Everyone is told everyone is told to study computer science, but right now, like some of my friends in Brown and Sim, you can't even get internships. Like, what do you have to say about this?
I think that there's always going to be a bear market somewhere, and there's
Uh,
always a bull market in other places. Um, don't let the media and what they're talking about or what you're hearing to be the endpoint, right?
mhm,
What we are dealing with today is a tremendous opportunity for people to experience the gig economy. What does that mean? The gig economy is where people have now a new opportunity to not be working in a job, the standard traditional job,
mhm,
and that they can do a combination of um, freelance, short-term contracts, maybe backpack across Europe,
mhm,
and then have an experience and
mhm,
that even their parents or their loved ones have never experienced before. So when you have these new inputs, suddenly you're going to have a choice to
mhm,
make a decision about experiential. One great acronym is YOLO. You only live once.
mhm,
So you're now going to have more options. Now, of those options, it's not just one-sided. The companies also have options. Um, they need to be leaner and meaner. So the AI that's been created will also eliminate jobs. I think one general thing that's spoken out there
mhm,
within the next 10 years, AI, artificial intelligence that we know of, is going to eliminate a lot of redundant jobs. So if you're aimed at a redundant job, you could be eliminated. Now, but what's a redundant job? It could be at the cash register. That's an easy find because you right now you go to grocery stores and you self-checkouts, right? You have
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
one of the redundant jobs could be software engineering, right? Because knowing the codes and the deep learning that machines can experience now and machine learning, that might also become redundant. Another redundant job is reading an X-ray, right? Radiologist.
mhm,
Well, you could create patterns and pattern recognition so that not that you eliminate all the jobs, but that you could have a more centralized combination. So it's not just a machine replacing all humans, or all machines replacing humans, but that human beings are choosing to be replaced because they like that experience. And you say, what? Why would a human being like to be replaced? Well, I just explained to you, working at a cash register is not fun. It's
it is not.
tiring, it's exhausting, doesn't lead you to, and so you choose to be replaced. What about radiologists? You went to all that school. Yeah, but I make mistakes when I look at people's x-rays. And
Mhm,
and I thought that wasn't cancer, but it was. Or I thought that cancer had resolved, and I said no, but it is still happening. So there are going to be, and this is what the data shows,
mhm.
more and more human beings are going to choose to self-eliminate themselves. And so I don't know about your friend, but because he's just starting out, he or she.
Yeah, yeah.
But because of the self-elimination, there's some ripples. So say someone says, let's say at a hospital, that, we're making all these mistakes at the high level, and they tell the insurance companies, and the insurance companies see that, and they say, you know what, you're right. We need to cut down on the number of radiologists out there that are human driven. And what we need to have is every radiologist should have their own AI study buddy so that they can look at these things and save more lives. And so when you do that, one radiologist with an AI partner, AI robot, will
Uh-huh.
now be, let's call it version one or version two, will now be able to see many more things without making mistakes, because it's just like the AI sends you the work and then you say, was that right? Yeah, I agree with that. No, we got to look at it again, give it to AI bot number two, and AI bot number two checks it out. And once you have the confirmation of the two bots, plus maybe a meeting of all the top radiologists, suddenly you start finding that it's more efficient that way. And so what your peers
Hmm.
from the college level are experiencing is they're experiencing some ripples, some things that all you're feeling is transformation. But this is the best and greatest time in the world because there's massive amounts of transformation that are going to happen. Imagine if you never had any transformation, it'd be kind of boring. So that's what you are seeing, right? Of maybe it's because the internship doesn't make one's life, right? And
It's not.
you don't just have to intern at one place. But one thing for sure, your two friends came out of some very top schools. So top schools, I kid you not, will give you the higher median salary by far. In fact, there's a list of the top schools that always statistically land the higher median salaries, higher than median salaries. And that base pay increase is really valuable. Like you need to know the list of these top places because
So
you
what are these top schools?
Oh, you want to know the top schools?
Yeah, yeah. So like, how do I get more than the median?
All right. So first of all, you have to acknowledge that. I'm glad you asked that. You have to acknowledge that technology, engineering, and business with technology are going to be um, more valuable than businesses that don't have the technological advancements, right? So if
Mhm.
you agree that for engineering, like engineering with technology, computer science with AI, business strategies that use certain technologies to become more efficient, right?
Mhm.
Those are very valuable. Then you land at number one,
Mhm.
MIT. Massachusetts Institute of Technology consistently for their graduates rank higher than the median graduate salaries in those fields, hands
Mhm.
down. So as a graduate of that school, you will just be part of those numbers. And again, these numbers are past numbers that are not 100% indicative of future results, right? But
Uh-huh.
these are past consistent numbers over decades, right? So you see that MIT graduates. So if you can get in there, and let's
Mhm.
say you're not very good, but you're around the other ones who are really good, well, who knows that? I mean, who knows whether or not you have branded underwear or not? They just look at what house you live in or where you come from. There's a lot of um, benefits from the light at the end of the tunnel. It's so bright that it shines on everything, right? And everybody has a halo. So MIT is number one. There's 10 of them. I'll give you the list of 10. MIT is number one. Number two is going to be on the West Coast, Stanford University, with a focus on entrepreneurship, which is why you've been asking me. Entrepreneurship, they have a better chance at convincing a venture capital or someone to invest in them if they come out of Stanford. Their ideas. Are their ideas better, or do they just, make sure that because they hear so many great ideas, that, the chance of them coming up with a great idea is enhanced by talking with your classmates or who
Yeah,
the
yeah.
professor is in class, right? So it's a rising tide that lifts all boats. Then technology and business is also, Stanford just repeatedly produces graduates who just command the higher salary out of Silicon Valley and other tech hubs right now. Then we
Yep.
have Harvard University back to the East Coast. Their
Mhm.
reputation of opening doors in finance, consulting, law, and technology. Think of Meta, or back then it was known as Facebook, right? They give you chances. right? And people look at it, right? And then plus you'll constantly hear about all of your past peers' successful results as part of your schoolwork. So, so it's like you're forced to become um, higher on the median because you just keep listening to successful stories on the median, and plus that whole emotional positivity of knowing that your peers came from there, right? All right. So then there's that one. And
Okay.
then California Institute of Technologies, back to the West Coast, specializing in science and engineering. Caltech graduates are highly sought after in industries in aerospace. Now, yes, it's technology and things like that, but aerospace was not a category I mentioned. But guess what? Aerospace is experiencing incredible private dollars, right? Incredible. The amount of money being pumped into aerospace is unlike it ever has been because back then it was just government. Now, got private industry. And then there's the research categories and subcategories out of Caltech that if you come out of that school, like even if you didn't go there for undergrad for your first year, try to get there, right? If you're interested in
Mhm.
technology, aerospace, and research. And then number five, University of Pennsylvania Wharton School. The Wharton School at UPenn is their creme de la creme in their like alumni center. They don't just serve coffee. They serve like all kinds of in the I only know about the men's bathroom, but they're inside there. You've got Estee Lauder products in the men's bathroom. Like use them
Oh,
as much as you want, right? So that's
uh,
in the Steinberg Conference Center, Wharton School,
uh,
and higher paying than the median number for finance, consulting, entrepreneurship is major because anytime you make more than base, right? And if you're at one standard deviation above the base, you're like ahead. See, forget about the bonus. The bonus is always a percentage of your base, but the base is where like whether it rains or shines, whether it
mhm,
snows or sleets, your base pay is critical for a number that I'm going to calculate with you, but it's
mhm,
your base, the higher than base pay, higher than median is absolutely important. And you need to know how you get there, right?
mhm,
So those are your first five. Now the latter five. Carnegie Mellon University. Again, this is based on statistics that are pumped out of there
mhm.
for that are recognized in U.S. News and other places. Computer science, engineering, and business graduates often receive lucrative job offers from top companies that are higher than the median. Like they'll just give you a higher than median. Now
Mhm.
that this is maybe that changes one day because maybe everybody needs to be the same. But right now, looking at the past, Carnegie Mellon, number six. Number seven, Georgia Institute of Technology. Um, if you want to focus on the STEM field, Georgia Tech graduates, again, repeatedly secure well-paying jobs, higher than median in engineering, technology, research, ending up in defense companies, the other ones, Georgia Tech. And
So I have a
then,
question.
yes, go ahead.
Like, what happens if you go to these schools for a major like art, history, philosophy? What happens to you then? How much are you going to be making afterwards of
Well,
college?
they're not known for those, right?
Yeah.
So what I picked was the major fields that have high growth. Now, art, I mean, if you become Lady Gaga or
Yes.
Taylor Swift, right? Then was it the school or was it you, right? Or was it the combination of it, right? It can be. Many cases have combinations of things, but usually if it's music, you think of Juilliard, you think of, you're not thinking of the tech side. So I picked these other things because the mainstream ones, because of looking at trends of what's happening in the entire world and what multiple countries are going to. And that's why we didn't include art and music um, because of that. So if you go to these schools and you come out of something and you then take it into music, well, there may be a larger percentages that's partly you being an entrepreneur or your skills that you also enjoy and you fuse that together. But I'm focused more on like let's say in answering your question about mainstream things, right? Main things that are happening, like AI is going to change not just one industry, it's going to change multiple industries, right?
Mhm.
All kinds of industries. And that's really, really crucial. All right. Then number eight, University of Chicago. Now we talked about, well, Georgia Tech was south and Carnegie Mellon, was Pennsylvania kind of things. But what we want to do is we also want to look at in the Midwest, you've got University of Chicago, right? The Booth School of Business is regarded for its finance, economics, and MBA programs. Now, MBA programs are not undergrad, but still, they lead to higher than median pay in finance and consulting. Then we come back to my home state, which is Princeton University. That's New Jersey. And they're known for their strong programs in economics, engineering, and public policy. Now, public policy is another twist. Oh, wow. So public policy. Harvard does that too, but Princeton is known for this, and they command higher than base salaries on these industries I just mentioned. And then number 10. Number 10 is Cornell University. And in the fields of engineering, computer science, business, and even agriculture, Cornell graduates oftentimes secure higher paying jobs in technology, finance, and consulting. And I did not go to any of these 10 for my undergraduate. So just to qualify this, is that there are exceptions to the rule. These
Sure.
are just
Yeah.
mainstream data, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So another question I had was, how do we differentiate ourselves from the crowd? Like, there's so much fear of missing out and much jealousy. How do we stay focused in our goals in life?
So, as an undergrad, I couldn't get into these top 10, right? So, and back then, these top 10 were still the top 10, and I'm now 50 years old. So, in 1992, when it came to get into college, I was able to get into my reach school, and that was Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And
Mhm.
because in high school, I didn't work as hard as I should have. Um, I actually wanted to enjoy the other things. So to me, when I didn't listen to my dad who said, you need to graduate number one of your high school. And I said, well, how about if I graduate in top 10%? And there's like 350 kids in your class. And so I finished number 28. But boy, did I learn about public speaking. I spent time public speaking. I spent time learning about like improvisation, right? So the TED Talks I have, and I speak a lot about science. So you're interviewing me right now, and I've done a
Yeah.
bunch of interviews. So that became a really valuable thing that I brought in to Rensselaer because I worked on it in high school. And then in the science field, a lot of scientists are not focused on public speaking. It's like, fairly distant kind of thing. So I focused on that. And today I have a grant for looking at music and how it affects your health. I've done a lot of interviews on various subjects and topics. That's earning power too, right? You got to calculate that in your earning power or in opportunities like when I was in graphene, I was
Mhm.
asked to give a TED talk on graphene. Didn't have to be me, but they heard how I spoke and they said, we'd like you to represent
Mhm.
us. And then another one, right? Another one where the universities will say, for example, at Waterloo, is a place I did all the patent work. In Singapore, another place, they would oftentimes ask me, can you speak for us? And so, wow. So the thing that didn't get me because I was distracted and I wasn't going for these top 10, I didn't even know about the top 10 list at the time. So I, but I worked on something that became extremely valuable, right? All those musicals and all those plays that I did and all the improvisation and memorizing lines and saying how to speak certain things and Toastmasters,
Mhm.
um, doing things like that of how to take an idea, slow it down, make it sound really attractive,
Yeah. Yeah.
became really important as I developed into an inventor later in life because an inventor, successful inventor means that you have a lot of patents. And definition of patent, if you're going to get granted a patent, it's that it's never been invented before. Basically, it doesn't exist. So you're the only one who can sell it. And whether or not it becomes popular, it depends on how you sell it. So suddenly I was now at Rensselaer when I
Mhm.
was doing my undergraduate, and I started inventing some things. An internship I got was with NASA, and I invented something, and that attracted Howard Hughes. And
Mhm.
from Howard Hughes, it attracted Pfizer and Merck, and Abbott and Lilly. I didn't go to Abbott and Lilly, but I was black card before I left my undergraduate, and I was able to make six figures without an undergraduate degree.
Hmm.
And this was way out of the scale of the median salary. And then at Pfizer, the place I went for my internship, they weren't even recruiting at Rensselaer Polytech. They saw what I was accomplishing out of NASA and out of the NASA program called Origins of Life under the late James P. Ferris, Professor James P. Ferris. I
Yeah.
wasn't even the right major, Dheeraj. I was a bio major,
I
and
think it shows like
yeah,
to a certain extent, it doesn't matter where you go because where you go just is like an incubator for the person you are.
yeah, but it does matter.
Uh-huh.
See, it matters a lot.
Really.
Yeah, but if it doesn't happen at the right time, don't let it eat you up. Keep working hard. My
Mhm.
biggest regret was not going to these top 10 because I didn't know the top 10 list, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And then you mentioned in the introduction that I was at Harvard and I was at Wharton, but towards the end, right? It wasn't the undergraduate. So I totally missed it by a huge mark, right? But because I was working hard, I got a couple of professors that
Hmm.
fell in love with what I stood for and how hard I would work. I mean, after classes, I would go right to the lab and work. And I then, as I got more attention, I worked in two labs and three labs. I was running three labs at the same time as an undergraduate. I didn't have time to stop. And those results, because now you have like, it's almost like if you played the lottery tickets and you made you bought three tickets instead of one, you have a greater chance, right? So in as far as normalizing what it even means, if all undergraduates do is go to undergraduate and they study and they graduate and they do, and I went and worked in all these graduate school laboratories and then at NASA and Howard Hughes and getting all this funding, guess what? It's going to show up. It's almost like equivalent to a third grader studying you know trigonometry or pre-calc, but you're in third grade. Yeah, what does that even mean? And let's say you scored, I don't know, let's say you scored 600 on the math, which is not so high, but you're a third grader. What does that mean? Well, you know, it means that you could score better than a huge percentage of people who are already in high school. So when you overclock, let's use that word, overclock, and how you get people to say, well, yeah, how should you teach a kid in third grade um, pre-calculus? Well, you just teach them like any other kid, right? You just teach them that. But the opportunities would later on unfold where, okay, you learn in graduate school chemistry and, you switch to a chemistry major now that you got these things. But
Hmm.
would you discover anything in the future because of the chemistry? And then, as you know, I mean, those who look me up, they'll see I went to medical school. I got paid to go to medical school. So there was no debt
Hmm.
involved and there was a salary to go. This is from the NIH. Well, how do you get there? Um, and you didn't have the right undergraduate, not the top 10, but I didn't stop working or I didn't work any less. I had to work harder than those in the top 10,
Hmm.
but I'd forgotten about, or I didn't even know the list. So the key take home message is that
Yeah.
it might be terrible out there. Well, so it is.
Hmm.
Keep working. Did you know that the worst time to raise money is for an idea is when there's a recession, right? As opposed to when it's a bull market, right?
Yeah.
If the economy's not doing well, it's a recession. But do you know that if you successfully raise money during a recession,
Hmm.
that you've got to have some really incredible idea that those people who are so resistant to investing in anything invested in you,
Hmm.
right? So don't let the condition of the environment be a holdback. It's always the best time for you to work hard and to work smart.
Correct.
Hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all we have time for today.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for your insights and really mindset change.
You're
That,
welcome.
yeah. Thank you.
Bye bye.